World War Three?
World War III.
Yeah.
Fly or die right now.
Okay.
Can't see anything.
Can't see anything.
No, wait. Hold on, wait. Oh, good.
Huh? Stop.
Man, Zuckerberg's getting proper terror. I'm gonna say, when I see you, I'm gonna punch your face in, you little fart.
This is what Facebook Live is for, just hanging out while you're sitting in your backyard, waiting for your brisket and your ribs to finish smoking. So yeah, bye guys.
Let's go, boys. Episode 181. Real quick, shout out to this guy. Appreciate you grilling and chilling, and all the other meatheads who are always smashing subscribe and like for Meat Boy MMA. Last week was UFC Abysmal, and before we recap our picks and our plays from last week, if you don't want to hear last week's recap, head straight to the comments. UFC 304. All the breakdowns are right there in the comments, so feel free to skip ahead if you need to. But Meat Boy, it wasn't the best week for us. We both anticipated us going about 3-3. Ultimately, there were only 5 fights on the card because Iron Turtle had to pull out the night before. I went 3-2. You went 1-4, and the Meatlock took an L. So, what were your thoughts from last week? Let's start with the Meatlock. Snooze Bro got absolutely dominated. What were your thoughts on the L of a Meatlock?
Yeah, I mean, that card was absolutely abysmal. Not really much to say except for Snooze Bro is not Usman. He's an absolute bomb. He should probably, honestly, I could see Snooze Bro going to power slap. I just don't know if he's cut from the same cloth as Kamaru. Kamaru is an champ, arguably the best champ at 170. And Muhammad Usman is arguably future champ of BKFC or Power Slap, probably Power Slap, but I don't know. That was just bad. It left a bad taste in my mouth. It was an abysmal card. Was not a fan of the whole card, except Steve Garcia is an absolute G. Sung Woo Choi is an absolute duster, though.
Yeah, Snooze Bro got dominated. Like we thought he would do a little bit better than he did against Thomas Peterson. Tommy Pete fought well. Got to give the guy his credit because we didn't think he would have a chance in that one, and turned out Snooze Bro did not have a chance. So I like where your head's at. Maybe Snooze Bro moves over to Power Slap. Maybe even goes over to PFL because he might actually have some success over there against their stable of heavyweights. But you touched on Steve Garcia. That was one that we both nailed. We were all over that. Sting is, I mean, you hate to be too harsh, but he's truly bad, and Steve Garcia essentially dominated him, slept him clean in the first 2 minutes. Doo-Ho Choi, I mean, I was all over that one. You had your boy Algio. Algio got absolutely slept, and it was actually kind of concerning because Doo-Ho Choi just landed just a heavy meat bomb, and right away you can tell something was off. Maybe Algio had an orbital fracture or something, but his reaction was bad. He crumbled to the ground and essentially tapped out himself. So what did you make of Doo-Ho Choi? Is he back? Is he reinserting himself in interesting top 15 conversations, or is Bill Algio just done?
Yeah, very, very surprising to see Bill Algio look that bad, but yeah, it seems, you're right. The Korean Superboy is back, and Bill Algio, I think, might have peaked, and he might be looking over at PFL, maybe Power Slap also. I just don't know if he's still in it for the UFC and these high level fighters. So I don't know. I hate to see it, but Bill definitely peaked.
Yeah, and nonetheless, a good performance from Superboy for sure. Good to see him back in the win column. And lastly, real quick, Kane and Krzyzewski lost a close decision to Kurt Holobaugh. We both had Kanan in that one, but it was one of those fights, just unproven guy versus levels test, and Kurt ended up being a little bit too good for Kanan, but it was a close competitive fight, and Krzyzewski still definitely has some life in a couple of years, but for now, Holobaugh was better. And lastly, Meat Boy, Verna Jindihoba versus Lemos in the main event, and it was pretty much non-competitive. Verna just truly dominated. She just has a seriously insane style, boa constrictor like, where she's taking these women down, and she has like this Khabib Islam type pressure where they literally just get stuck underneath her, cannot go anywhere, and she ended up getting the second round submission right at the very end of the second. So what do you make of Verna Jandiroba? Were you surprised that she made such light work of Lemos? And knowing she did, is Verna going to be the next champ?
Yeah, Lemos, that was crazy. Lemos absolutely dominated Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern beat Verna, but man, I don't know. She could be future champ. It's like she's been reborn, reutilized, and she absolutely dominated last weekend. That kind of blew my mind. True, this is a true testament of MMA math does not exist, and I keep getting duped by it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sold on her personally. I thought that she fought amazingly. Last week I said she's going to win dominantly and then cut an epic promo, and I was kind of being facetious, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but that's literally what she did. She dominated, she cut a pretty funny promo, and it wouldn't surprise me if she's next in line for a title fight, and I think that could actually be a compelling fight against Wei Li if she is in fact next. So great stuff from Verna. Lemos got smoked. You ready to talk about UFC 304, meat boy?
Yeah, let's get right into the meat lock.
Let's do it. You've seen it before. It's the homie Mick Parkin, a.k.a. Meat Larkin, who is 9-0. He's undefeated, 3-0 in the UFC, and we've successfully meatlocked him before against Snoozebro, believe it or not. So that was easy light work the first time. Easy light work again should be the second time, as he's taking on Lukasz Brzezinski, who is 9-4-1. He's 1-3 in the UFC, and his lone victory was when he, as a dog, took out Walter Walker. And Walter Walker is the younger, bigger brother of Johnny Walker, and he truly looked like nepotism 2.0. There was no reason why he should be in the UFC, and as a about -200 favorite, laid an egg against Brzezinski and gave this dude his first gift of a victory in the UFC. But beyond that, Lukasz has been getting absolutely smoked. Booty the Baddie smoked him. Carl Williams, not even close. And then Waldo Cortez Acosta finished him in essentially the first couple minutes with a nasty left hook. So we've only really seen Brzezinski struggle, and we know Meat Larkin, our boy, is undefeated, noticeably getting better and better each contest. I mean, he looks dominant in all of his UFC fights so far, but each one he's getting progressively better, and we just love the fact that every single day, day in, day out, he's working with Tom Aspinall and Phil DeFries as well. So a couple big monsters, one monster being who many think is the best heavyweight in the world, Tom Aspinall. So if you're spending hours and hours and hours every single day working with the best in the world, gotta imagine you're taking out a guy named Lukasz Brzezinski, whose only win is against Walter Walker. So what are your thoughts on this meatlock? What do you love about Meat Larkin in this one, and how did he get this one done over Lukasz?
Yeah, no, Meek Larkin is an absolute meat lock. He's training with Tom Lockspinall. That's always a lock. Those two guys are absolute killers, and this is going to be light, easy work. When you're training with an absolute future go, I should say, Tom Aspinall, you already know, Parkin's going to come with some good game plan, good cardio, good pace, everything. And he's already proven that in his, since his debut from the Contender Series. I've been on him since day one, and it seems people are now starting to respect him a little. But he's definitely a heavyweight to keep your eye on.
Yeah, the price is a little bit more expensive than it was. I believe against Snoozebro, we were getting him around pick'em values, so Vegas was still a step behind. It seems like they've caught up a little bit, -285, definitely a more expensive price tag than what we've been used to. But you're right, you've been all over Mick Parkin since the beginning, even since he came into his Contender Series fight as a slight dog. If you remember, I mean, people thought that he was going to lose to Eduardo Neves, and Eduardo Neves proved to not even belong in the same octagon as Meat Larkin. So you've definitely been all over it. Vegas is just now catching up. Do you think it's going to be an early and often finish? Because if there is anything to criticize Mick Parkin, it's that he wins decisions, right? Or at least throughout his UFC tenure thus far, he's been going the distance, dominating guys, but being unable to get a finish. Do you anticipate this being the first official UFC finish for him? And if so, is it early over Lukasz?
Yeah, it would not surprise me if he gets a finish. He is kind of a decision king, recently. But with that being said, he does in the UFC, he might have all decisions, but Contender Series, he's got a rear naked choke, and everything else before that, he's got KOs. So he's got, in his total pro record, not outside in the UFC, outside and in, 5 KOs, 1 submission, 3 decisions. I think he's due for a finish in this one, and I could absolutely see a KO.
Yeah, I think finish could be sharp as well, because if we look at Tapology, 96% is rolled with Meat Larkin, but it's basically all beige, so they think that the decision spree continues, and only about 18% have him by KO. Only a very slight sliver for the submission, so that could have some life as well. But nonetheless, Parkin, skill for skill, should be better everywhere. He's going to have about 30 pounds on the guy. They're about the same, they'll have the same height and reach, but the 30 pounds should be great for Meat Larkin. And Lucas just seems like a light heavyweight that doesn't want to cut the weight. So for me, this is easy light work. It's a meatlock for a reason, and we're going to be going a little bit heavier this time. It's a high confidence meatlock for Meat Larkin. We're throwing down 570. It's going to net 200 and get us back on track, rectify the snooze bro L from last week, and Mick Parkin should be the guy to do it early on the card too, so it'll be fun to see what fights happen after the meatlock for sure. So I like Meat Parkin. Obviously, I'm going to go by submission as well, Meat Boy. I think he can get this one done via finish, but it's a meatlock for a reason, and if this somehow goes the decision, then we'll take the victory nonetheless. Any last thoughts on Mick Parkin?
No, just another Mick Parkin Larkin.
Yeah, it's another Mick Parkin Larkin, so swap us through, Meat Boy, and this one's very interesting to me, and I want to get your perspective. It's Muhammad Mokaev, and he's essentially undefeated, right? He's minus 155, coming into this one against Starboy Manel Kopp, who is plus 130. He's 4-2 in the UFC, and he started the promotion 0-2, and both of those fights were very close. One was a very close unanimous loss to Pantoja. The fight after that was a controversial split decision loss to Matthias Nicolau, but a lot of people thought that he might have won both of those fights. So theoretically, Starboy could be coming into this one undefeated just like Mokaev is. And both these guys have a lot of hype. Obviously, Mokaev is the much younger, rawer prospect. He's only 23 versus Manel Kopp, who is 30. And this one I thought was interesting because throughout the last few weeks, this was a main card, 4th from the top fight, yet just this morning, these guys got booted down to the early prelim. Not a lot of context as to why. So before you even tell me who you think is going to win, what do you make of the card placement adjustment? What do you think caused these guys to go from the main card to now being curtain jerkers on the early prelims?
Yeah, man, the curtain jerker early prelim, truly unfortunate because both these guys, they got big egos, except I don't know if Cape can really back it up like Muhammad has been recently. I don't know. This would be a fun fight, great fight, but I gotta take Mokaev on this one. I'm leaning on him, but I do worry that they drop him down. Is there an injury? Is there something going on that we just don't know about? Or was there kind of a verbal, internal dispute, and this is punishment as like, hey, this is what we can do, and we'll remove you from this company if you guys don't, whatever it was. Who knows? It's very weird, a little sus, so I don't know. It's red flag all over it, but I'm going to pick Mokaev, but I'm probably going to stay away from it just because of that.
Yeah, a couple different theories for sure, right? Like, did they try to overplay their hand, renegotiate a new contract, overplay their leverage a little bit, and the UFC is just reminding them, hey, remember, you guys are flyweights. You know our perspective on this division, at least historically. Have fun in the early prelims, or maybe, like you touched on, could it be an injury? I mean, we've seen Manel Kopp pull out of a lot of fights, and obviously, you can't prevent injuries. Those things happen, but it is interesting that they were on the main card and now they're on the early prelims. So just something to keep an eye on. I mean, we're recording this on late Tuesday, early Wednesday, and maybe some more information will come in the next few days, but should be interesting. Hopefully the fight stays intact, because anytime, again, Manel Kopp is on there, you never know if he's going to actually be fighting. But you mentioned you're picking Mokaev. Do you think he's going to pick up a finish in this one? Mokaev has been winning a lot of decisions lately, and it's tough to be too critical. I mean, they are against tough guys. Alex Perez, especially most recently, he picked up that unanimous decision, and that was just a few months ago. And before that, he actually did get a finish over Tim Elliott. So do you think Mokaev will return to his finishing ways, or do you see this fight maybe going the distance?
Man, it's so hard to say, but I can absolutely see going distance. you got to remember these are very little dudes, so they're not packing the craziest punch. But it would not surprise me. Maybe there's a submission, a sneaky sub. But these guys don't. Neither one. If anyone gets a KO, I've got to imagine it's got to be Cape. He's got a little more pop to that. But I don't know. I think Mikhaev is just so crispy, so well-rounded that he should be able to avoid any big KO power. And he either grinds out a nice decision, maybe a sneaky sub. We shall see.
Yeah, and Manel Kape pre-UFC was knocking out everyone, right? This is a guy with 15 wins, but has 11 knockouts, or excuse me, 19 wins, and 11 of them are by knockout. And he does have the 2 finishes in the UFC, but lately it's been decision after decision, just like we have seen from Mikhaev. So I like this fight to go the distance as well. I'd actually be surprised if either guy picks up a finish, but I do like where your head's at. Mikhaev by submission is most interesting to me if there is some sort of finishing outlet for either men. But if you look at Tapology, Meat Boy, 61% is rolling with the favorite, Mikhaev. They think that the Punisher gets this one done, and majority are going by decision, whereas 39% is going with Manel Kape, and it's about half and half. So they think that if Manel Kape has a pathway, KO could be the play for sure. But I'm reluctantly going to roll with you. I'm going to take Mikhaev in this one, but I was at the last fight that he fought in London. It was against Jafel Filio. We actually meatlocked that one, and in the end, it was a successful meatlock. Mikhaev got it done for us, but it was definitely a clincher, and seeing it live, Jafel Filio was seemingly seconds or inches away from picking up a submission victory over Mikhaev, and it was just very, very sketchy. And yes, you can take away some positives in the sense that at least Mikhaev weathered the storm, he got through it, and ultimately got a finish of his own, but it made me a little bit nervous seeing that live. So I wonder what Mikhaev will look like in front of a hometown crowd. This time, will it be a better outlet for him, or will it be sketch like the last one? To be determined for sure, but I'll officially go Mikhaev by decision. I think this one could be close though, because Starboy's a good fighter, and he's always in close competitive fights. Like even when the guy is losing, he's pretty close, and the rounds could kind of go his way sometimes. So I like this to be a close fight. I'll take Mikhaev by decision. Are you officially going Punisher Mikhaev by submission or KO, or where are you going?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go submission, but wouldn't surprise me if a decision.
Yeah, good stuff. Let us know in the comments. Is Starboy going to get this one done? Are we sleeping on Manel Kape, or is this a Mikhaev meatlock? Let us know down low, but swap us through, Meat Boy, because another interesting fight on the card is Nathaniel Wood, the prospect. And, I mean, the guy's been in the UFC for about 8 years now, so I don't know how much of a prospect he is anymore, but he's 7-3 in the UFC. He's had 2 3-fight win streaks get derailed. Most recently, he had won 3 straight, and just got smoked by Muhammad Naimov, and Naimov was a pretty sizable dog, so a little bit of a concerning loss for Nathaniel Wood, but Vegas seems to think that the fighter he was against Naimov is nothing to be concerned with, because he's minus 425, one of the heaviest favorites on the card, as he takes on Daniel Pineda, aka The Pit, and we know this guy used to be the Fury FC lightweight champ. He had a lot of success in the PFL before popping for a banned substance, and since joining the UFC in August of 2020, he's 2-1, a plus 330 dog, and the last time we saw him was just over a year ago when he got absolutely smoked in a fight against Alex Caceres, and maybe absolutely smoked isn't the right way to describe it because it was a fight of the night. It was actually a pretty sweet fight, but he did end up taking the L, and Alex Caceres we know is just the ultimate levels test, but not a future champ or really top 10 guy, whereas Nathaniel Wood, at least a lot of people did believe at one point he was en route to a top 10 label. So in this fight against Nathaniel Wood, do you see any life for the Pit at plus 330, or the fact that he lost to Alex Caceres spelled doom for him in this one against the prospect?
You know, it's really hit or miss. You know, MMA math doesn't really exist in this realm, so anything's possible. But it has been, you know, over a year since Pineda has fought, and I gotta imagine he's just been grinding, leveling up, recovering, working on mental, physical, everything. So he should be a new and a reborn Daniel Pineda, but I don't know. Nathaniel Wood, the prospect is no joke. I mean, you know, he did just lose that recent fight, but I feel like that was a hiccup. He had a really nice tear. Andre Fili, Jourdain, Charles Rosa. Those are no joke right there. It's such a tough one. I want to say Nathaniel Woods, but those odds are so crazy to me that I'm gonna pick the new and reborn Daniel Pineda.
Very interesting, because usually you like to go with the younger fighter, and I know you have a lot of respect for the prospect Nathaniel Woods. So talk to me about where you think the pit will have some advantages in this one. On paper, they both are a similar size. Reach is the exact same. Height is in the pit's favor a little bit, but where do you see stylistically Daniel Pineda having some advantages? Or is it simply just going to be a toughness thing? Because Daniel Pineda is as tough as it comes. He's just a real gritty brawler out there and is unafraid of a scrap. So do you think that it's going to be the attitude of Pineda that gets this done, or do you see him having some advantages in certain areas?
You know, I could definitely see advantages. I do worry about Nathaniel Wood's speed. Nathaniel Wood is very, very fast, but I gotta imagine that Pineda is gonna have that power and that crisp boxing, and he should be able to keep it on the feet. I don't know. I really like these odds. You know, call me a degen. I don't know, but these odds are just so juicy. I can't not take this.
Yeah, that I agree with. I think at plus 330, Daniel Pineda has the most interesting line on this entire card. We'll talk about Curtis Blades versus Aspinall later. That one too is enticing, but at plus 330, I think this should be, I don't want to say closer to a pick'em, but a little bit closer than what the line suggests, because Daniel Pineda is very tough, and he's a guy who often cashes as a dog, right? I mean, I think back to that fight against Tucker Lutz when he was a sizable dog. He told everyone before the event, bet on me, I'm going to get this fight done, and he went out there and got an easy light work finish. So Daniel Pineda is a dude who's unafraid. He's always out there ready to scrap, so I don't blame you for picking him. I am going to take Nathaniel Wood in this one, not laying any chalk on it, because I think, again, around minus 400 is too pricey for as tough of an opponent as Pineda is, but I like Wood to find a way to probably pick up a decision in this one, and Tapology is singing a similar song. 96% is rolling with the prospect. It's basically all beige, so they think this one goes the distance. If you are picking the pit, are you picking him to finish Nathaniel Wood?
Man, that's going to be a tough one to win if it is decision. I got to go with most likely it's going to be a decision. If he knocks out... he'll win by knockout. If he beats him by decision, that's just crazy. I just worry that he's going to be too quick, too fast. The speed's going to be right there. And I think, Daniel's going to need to KO him. I just don't know if he can keep it up with that speed for 3 rounds. That's the only thing I worry about is those 3 rounds. The longer it goes, it's probably not going to be in his favor. I imagine early and often first round KO.
Yeah, very interesting, and we have seen Nathaniel Wood get slept before. It was a fight against John Dodson, a fight that Nathaniel Wood was literally dominating every second, and then in the 3rd round, John Dodson, I think it was like a YOLO knee, was able to sleep Nathaniel Wood. So we have seen him get finished before. We do know Pineda is a finisher. One thing that's interesting to me about this one, 2 things actually. Nathaniel Wood has never lost 2 straight fights in his career, so if he loses this one, that would be a first for him. And another thing that's interesting, though, is Nathaniel Wood, when he has lost, he's lost as a sizable favorite. Against John Dodson, he was like minus 350, minus 400. The odds basically looked as they do for this weekend, and he got smoked. And then, again, last week, Muhammad Naimov was a sizable dog as well. So that, to me, makes me a little bit nervous if you're laying any chalk on Nathaniel Wood, because we've seen him lose as a big favorite before. So again, I'll go Nathaniel Wood. I'll go by decision, but I do think that the pit has some life. And if you call this one, Meat Boy, then kudos to you, because the odds are going to be very juicy. So any last thoughts on this one?
No, great fight, fun fight nonetheless.
Fun fight nonetheless, and we've made it to the main card, and the first fight on the main card, again, Makayev and Starboy got moved down to the early prelim, so they had to replace that fight with something, and what did they gift us with? Gregory Rodriguez, the RoboCop, taking on Christian Leroy Duncan, aka CLD license, and I'm actually glad that they made this swap. I think that this fight is an absolute banger, and the odds makers have it at a near pick'em, right? RoboCop is plus 120, CLD license is minus 142, and RoboCop, what can you say? I mean, He's 6-2 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight win streak, 2 beautiful finishes in a row, and that was good to see because that fight against Bruno the Hulk Ferreira, he got absolutely slept with that stiff jab. You didn't know if RoboCop would ever return as the dangerous RoboCop that he was before eating that punch, but nonetheless, he came back with 2 beautiful finishes. So RoboCop is back, and he's taking on CLD License, who is 3-1 in the UFC. He's a hometown guy who has a lot of hype, and you gotta imagine the UFC is like, all right, here's your opportunity, Leroy Duncan, against a notable guy in RoboCop on a main card. Go make a name for yourself, and perhaps this is the fight where he does, but he's been looking nice. He's won 2 fights in a row, both by finish. At least I was a little critical of CLD after that Armin Petrosian fight because he got absolutely smoked by Armin Petrosian, a fight he did not look good in, but he really has made some great improvements since that contest, and it's only been a year, but you can tell how much better Duncan has gotten ever since suffering that first UFC loss. So in this one, he's meeting RoboCop. Do you think RoboCop is going to offer too much of a levels test, or is Christian Leroy Duncan not only ready for this test, but ready to pass it with ease?
You know, man, this is a tough one because I was not that hyped on Duncan, but he's kind of won me over where he is the real deal, and this is a tough fight because anyone that fights Gregory Rodriguez in this division, it's a tough fight. Rodriguez is an absolute lunatic. He is top level jiu-jitsu practitioner, yet doesn't ever use it. He just goes out there, tries to get another third eye, and knock people's heads off. The dude is an absolute specimen, makes no sense, and RoboCop, I'm a big fan, and he's gonna win this easy work.
You're saying RoboCop's going to win this easy work?
RoboCop's gonna win this easy work.
Right on, and if we look at Tapology, it's basically all brown, so they do think someone's getting finished. However, they're all basically bullish on Christian Leroy Duncan. 65% is rolling with the license, and they think that third eye is getting split for Rodriguez in this one. So if you're taking RoboCop to get an early and often finish, what do you like about his stand-up game when compared to Christian Leroy Duncan? Because we know Christian Leroy Duncan as someone with a sick stand-up game. That's basically his bread and butter. He's out there trying to maintain distance. He really dominates with the footsies. So do you think RoboCop's just going to pressure him, walk right through him, and sleep him with ease?
Yeah, I think there's no way that this fight goes past the first round. This is gonna be an absolute slobber knocker. Someone's getting snuffed, and I gotta imagine RoboCop's gonna come out the victor. This dude is tough as nails, throws absolute bombs, and he does not stop with the pace. So there's no way this gets out the first round. That's a fact. Who wins, we shall see, but I gotta imagine that it is gonna be RoboCop.
Yeah, this one's tough for me, Meat Boy, because I was pretty bullish on CLD in the beginning. Then he really rubbed me the wrong way against Armin, but then he looked really good those last couple fights. So it's like, how good is Christian Leroy Duncan? I feel like the story is still being written, whereas I do think RoboCop is a high-level fighter. I just wonder if RoboCop has, I don't want to say peaked, but how much better can RoboCop get versus is Christian Leroy Duncan still on his ascension? Is he still trending upwards? And for that reason, I think that I'm going to have to go with Christian Leroy Duncan in this one. It's not the most confident pick, but something tells me that the UFC, they usually know what they're doing with the card placement, and I think that this could be a CLD coming out party. So I'm going to take Christian Leroy Duncan, and one thing I like about it is he's going to have a nice, basically 5-inch reach advantage, which is interesting because RoboCop is the taller, bigger dude, but Christian Leroy Duncan, the way he uses space and his reach advantage that he's going to have in this one, I think those could pay dividends. So I'm going to go Duncan by finish, but if RoboCop comes in here and absolutely sleeps CLD, that wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world, and you'll have to tell me that you told me so if he did. But I'll ride the hype. I will reboard the CLD license hype train, and I'm going to go by finish. So both of us think this one's going to end by finish. Do you think it's first round, Meatball, or any chance this thing goes a little bit later than anticipated?
Man, I don't know. Just how both these guys are, and especially Rodriguez, I really just don't know how it's going to go past the first round. This is a fight of the night, a knockout of the night, just waiting to happen. And, you know, I, it's very rare when you see RoboCop go into a second or third round, which his last fight went to the third TKO, but KO, second round with Chitty, KO, and then first round KO. It's like, this is going to end with a KO. First round, second, third, I don't know, but I gotta imagine this one's going to be a first rounder. This is going to be fireworks from beginning to the end. It might even be first 60 seconds, to be honest. This is a crazy fight.
Yeah, great point. Perhaps an under 60-second banger. Your patented move is worth inspection. And Gregory Rodriguez, like you said, anytime RoboCop fights, it seems to usually be over in the first round. If you remember that fight against Bruno Ferreira, we watched the first minute of the fight. We left your crib to go pick up some pizza, and literally by the time we entered your vehicle, the fight was over. So you never know when a RoboCop fight is going to end. It's usually sooner rather than later. So I'm going to go CLD by first round finish. Sounds like you have RoboCop by first round finish. Let us know in the comments who you're rolling with for this absolute slobber knocker, because, again, could go either way. Reason why it's basically a pick'em. So any last thoughts on that one, Meat Boy?
No, this is a slobber knocker fun fight nonetheless.
Yeah, another fun fight. Broil us through. It's Arnold Allen, 19-3, 10-2 in the UFC, taking on Giga Chikadze, who is 15-3, 8-1 in the UFC. So these guys are a combined 18-3 in the UFC, both experiencing a lot of success in this featherweight division. And Giga started his career in the UFC 7-0. Arnold Allen started off 10-0. Both these dudes were the next hot prospect, and then they kind of ran into a little bit of a ultimately levels test brick wall. Giga, his was Calvin Kattar. Arnold Allen's was Max Holloway, and then Movsar Evloev a few months ago. So they've both been sent back down a peg, and this to me is the fight for essentially getting them back in the top 5 conversation. Who really does have future champ potential? Is it the younger fighter Arnold Allen, or is it Giga Chikadze, who, even though he's a little bit older, perhaps the time he's been spending with Beneil Dariush, with Cordero and the boys at King's MMA has allowed him to become not just this lethal striker, but a true mixed martial artist, and that's what Beneil's been telling us all week. So before we talk about even the specifics of each guy, you taking Arnold Allen this one at minus 238, or does Giga at around plus 200 have some life for you?
Yeah, you know, man, this one's another tough. Man, this whole card is pretty stacked. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very fun fight. Man, Arnold Allen is no joke, but neither is Giga. You know, Giga apparently is grappling is S tier Khabib level according to Benny, which, you know, take it as it is. Man, I'm gonna lean on Arnold Allen, but it will not surprise me if Giga like knocks him out or does something sick. I hope Giga's back, but Arnold Allen is a proven, trustworthy, pick. He always delivers, usually 90% of the time. I think he's going to deliver this time again.
Yeah, and Arnold Allen coming into the UFC was a guy who only had 1 loss, and now he has 2 straight L's in the UFC. So it's the first time in his career that he's ever lost back-to-back fights. So you wonder if that's going to play into the mental at all. I mean, a lot of pressure is on Arnold Allen in this fight because he was getting main event opportunities, right? That fight against Max Holloway was essentially a #1 contender fight, and Max Holloway really took it to him and showed him that he wasn't quite ready for that level just yet. And then again, the fight afterwards against Movsar, also on a main card, not a main event, but Arnold lost that one too. So in this one, in Manchester, in his hometown, a lot of added pressure, and the fact that he's lost back-to-back losses, I think this is an interesting fight for Giga. Tapology, however, doesn't think it's interesting at all, and I'm a little bit surprised that 92% is rolling with Arnold Allen, 8% only is going with Giga. Are you at all surprised by the Tapology metrics and how hard the Allen shills are in full effect, or does 92 to 8% make sense to you in this fight?
You know, 92 does not make sense in my opinion, just because this is still going to be a very close fight. I think it'll go decision. I think it'll be, obviously it's going to be way closer than what people are saying it's going to be. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun fight, and I gotta just imagine that Arnold learned from the last 2 losses. He's going to bounce back, get a nice dub here, and then be on his way back towards that, when you lose to Max Holloway, you level up. If this, maybe this is the one time that someone doesn't, but I gotta imagine this is the case. Just like everyone else that's ever lost to Max, they always level up like ×2. It's pretty crazy. So I gotta imagine that's gonna happen. And yeah, I think Arnold Allen's gonna win this pretty convincingly. It just depends if he can implement his game plan and not get knocked out.
Yeah, and you mentioned you think this fight goes the distance. Tapology, again, it's 92% to 8%, and it's basically beige on both sides, so they do think that this fight goes the distance as well. If you're taking Arnold Allen in this one over Giga, how do you think he gets this one done? And, I mean, if you look, Giga does on paper, he's way bigger, right? He's 6 foot to 5'8". He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. Do any of those intangibles worry you? And if not, what's going to be Arnold Allen's strategy in this one? Do you think he's going to try and stand and bang with Giga and prove a point, or is he going straight for the takedown? If you're taking Arnold Allen, it sounds like. Tell me how you think he wins against Giga.
You know, if you look at the Calvin Kattar fight, that worked pretty darn good. So I gotta imagine that Arnold Allen and his team is gonna see that. Arnold Allen has a really good base wrestling, and he's a very strong kid. So he would be a fool to try to stand and bang with a 6 foot tall, way bigger dude that also might have sharper, better stand up. So if, as long as he gets to the ground, some other session, he should get a grindy decision. But maybe not. He could outstrike him. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But I gotta lean on Giga might have the better in the stand up though.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this one because, again, Giga rebounded well, right? We're talking about that Calvin fight where he got absolutely dominated, easy light work in a main event. So I guess kind of similar to Max versus Arnold. It was just apparent he wasn't ready for those bright lights of a main event. But he did rebound well, right? He took out Alex Caceres, and that was about a year ago at this point. But Caceres tried to take him down, was unsuccessful, and Giga was able to just really implement his game plan, but we know that Caceres, while being a crafty BJJ practitioner, his offensive grappling, his takedown ability, isn't quite on the level of Arnold Allen. So this is a new test in the grappling department for sure. We'll see if the hype that Benny Dariush has been selling to us and all the market improvements in Giga's grappling come to fruition in this one, but I'm with you, Meat Boy. I'm going to take Arnold Allen. I do, though, think this fight, like you said, will be close and competitive, and it wouldn't be the craziest thing to me if Giga finds a way to pick up a victory in this one. The fact that Arnold's lost 2 straight, it's in his backyard. The kid's coming in with a lot of pressure, and you wonder how he will react to it. So I'll roll with you. I'll take Arnold Allen, but I think it's going to be a close decision nonetheless. Any last thoughts on this featherweight throwdown?
No, this is an absolute banger. I mean, it's hard not to go with Arnold Allen. I think he's a safer pick right now. But I'm very excited for this one. This is an absolute banger of a fight. Throw in the comments, are you taking Giga Chad or Crazy Man Arnold Allen?
Yeah, it's a funny skirmish for sure, and again, we're both picking Arnold Allen. Let us know if we just have high sodium levels and we're fading Giga for no reason. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, a couple to go. Swap us through. This is a fight that I'm very excited to get your perspective on. Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Baddy, is finally fighting in the UFC in front of his hometown crowd, and it'll be nice to see because the last 2 fights we've seen of Paddy were in Vegas, and obviously the Vegas crowd shows Paddy love as well, but different, unique pop when Paddy the Baddy fights in front of the English crowd. So in this one, I think it's great matchmaking. It's a great levels test against Bobby Green, who is a guy who is fighting for the 26th time in the UFC. He's essentially 500 throughout his long and successful UFC tenure, and he's won 3 of 4, and the only loss was to Jalen Turner, who is absolutely massive. So in this fight, the odds makers are ever so slightly leaning on King Green. He's minus 118, and Paddy Pimblett is minus 102. He's 5-0 in the UFC, though, and I guess he's kind of 4-1 if we're really being honest, because that Jared Gordon fight, everyone knows how that should have gone on the judges' scorecards. But Paddy's undefeated on paper, so do you think Paddy remains undefeated and takes out a true levels test in King Green, or is King Green coming through to remind Paddy that there are levels and you're not quite there yet?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm actually surprised to see that Paddy's the dog in this, because I feel like everyone I guess everyone doesn't think Paddy's good anymore, but before everyone thought Paddy was the GOAT. So he's been really rubbing people the wrong way, it seems. But man, I gotta imagine that The UFC would not feed Paddy a wolf, so they gave him Bobby Green. You know, the UFC is not going to feed him, you know, a top 10 crazy hard fight. Bobby Green is winnable. Like, a part of me, I'm like, I think Bobby Green should win this? Question mark. Or does the UFC just know the machine and these fighters and their age so well that, okay, now we feed him to Bobby Green. Now we feed him to Tony Ferguson. Because you give Tony Ferguson, you know, peak, dude, Paddy the Baddy has zero chance. Also, Paddy's young. He's growing. He's getting better and better. I don't think I've ever picked Paddy in any fight because I thought he would lose. And I think he did lose all those fights. This one, I think he might win. I think the machine knows what they're doing, and I think this is a good matchup for both guys.
Yeah, I agree. I love the matchmaking in this one. I think it's a winnable opportunity for both men for sure. And you mentioned the UFC machine, and obviously they will create pathways that feature winnable fights for the fighters that they want to promote the most, right? We've seen that time and time again, and we've seen it for Paddy for sure. I mean, some of the early guys he fought, I mean, I'm pretty sure we meatlocked him over Luigi Venbamini. That was easy light work and a true can for sure. Rodrigo Vargas, Kazula Vargas, another absolute can. Jordan Levitt, we thought would be kind of close, but that turned out to be a can. And then when he's finally fought some real fighters, right? Jared Gordon, he arguably lost. Tony Ferguson, he dominated, but is the 40-year-old version of Tony when he's lost 10 fights in a row. So you touched on the machine and the favorable matchmaking. My question is, at some point, is there any favorable matchups? Because if Paddy keeps winning, I mean, he's taking out can after can, he has to, in theory, be climbing the ladder. So is Bobby Green like the last test that they can offer to him where it's going to be a winnable test, but a test nonetheless? And after this fight, there is no more sugarcoating the matchmaking. There's no more carving an easy light work path for Paddy. Or is this the fight where that game is already over and Bobby Green is where the buck stop?
Yeah, I don't know. I just honestly think the UFC knows what they're doing. They're not gonna let Paddy lose this. I could totally see, to be honest, a submission win, Paddy Pimblett. Bobby Green King goes to sleep. Bobby Green, he looks great some fights, and then he doesn't look so great other fights. And I think this is really where Paddy shines. I think he's going to show all the haters, all the people that think he's that bad. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm really surprised to see Paddy the Baddy being being an underdog in this fight. I mean, it's not like Bobby Green is this new, fresh, young killer or something. He's kind of a vet, kind of on his way out, pretty much on his way out. But he's an OG. He's a fun fighter. And he got knocked out by Jalen Turner not too long ago. About a year. If Jalen Turner can do it, I gotta say Paddy can do it too.
Yeah, and you said by submission, which Tapology actually kind of likes. The metrics on Tapology reflect the odds. It's basically 50-50. 53% slightly rolling for King Green, 47% rolling with Paddy, but you'll notice a sizable chunk for that copper submission. So I kind of like where your head's at. I do think if there's a way for Paddy to pick up a finish, it's got to be through the grappling. It's got to be a wrestling-heavy attack, and ultimately it's got to be through the jiu-jitsu. And throughout the last couple of weeks, Paddy has really been highlighting the deficiencies that King Green features in the grappling department. And we know that Bobby Green is a guy with pretty good takedown defense. I mean, he's fought against dudes who are impossible to stifle. I mean, he fought against Islam. He's fought against a lot of dudes, but in fights against guys not named Islam, his takedown defense has been pretty strong. So I'm curious what Paddy is seeing in there and why he thinks he's going to just have that much of a light work boa constrictor advantage over him, but that could be the play for sure. My last question is, Meat Boy, any chance this fight, when it goes the distance, King Green wins a decision? Because we've seen Paddy Pimblett go the distance, and I mean, the greatest example obviously is that fight against Jared Gordon, and that wasn't even in England. This fight, if it goes the distance and the rounds are arguably close, I mean, I feel like there's no way that the judges are going to give this fight to King Green. So if that's the case, is King Green's only pathway to victory finishing Paddy Pimblett?
Yeah, if King Green doesn't finish Patty, I think you hit it right on the button. I think there's 0% chance that he's going to lose the decision in his home country. I mean, the Patty shills are no joke over here. And yeah, I feel bad for Bobby Green if he does not get that finish and he does dominate the whole fight, because they're going to clearly give it to Patty like they have. And that was in America too, so it's probably even worse when it comes to his own country.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, and Patty only has 3 losses on his record, 2 by decision, and 1 when he got choked out when he was basically like 15 years old, so no one's been able to finish Patty essentially throughout his entire career. So for me, if there's only one pathway and it's finish, and the guy who needs to get finished has never been finished, to me that gives me enough confidence to pick Patty the Batty in this one, because I think Patty can win a decision. I think maybe he can get a TKO, maybe he can get a submission, but I don't see a world where King Green finishes Patty, and as a result, I can see these rounds being close. I can see these rounds going in King Green's favor, to be honest, but somehow Patty, gotta imagine he's going to emerge with a victory. I'll take Patty by decision. I do think this fight will be close and competitive, though, and I'm pretty excited for it, because if Patty can get through King Green, then sweet, let's see what's next. Maybe it's Money Moicano. Maybe he fights against Jalen Turner himself. Like, it's going to be killer after killer if he gets through King Green, so we'll see if Patty truly is ready for that level. So I got Patty decision, you got submission. Any last thoughts on that one?
No, it's a fun fight. Definitely big levels test, but fun fight for both of them nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure, Meat Boy, and skewer us through the next one. It's the co-meets, and if you're still here, we appreciate you, again, as always, grilling and chilling. Hopefully you take these locks with you this weekend, and speaking of locks, it's your boy, it's my boy, it's our boy, Tom Lockspinall, and the dude is 7-1 in the UFC. His only loss is, in fact, to Curtis Blades, and that was a fight also in England. It was in July of 2022, so about 2 years ago to the date, and he lost via TKO knee injury. Took a bad step, his knee essentially exploded. One of those strange ones that it's tough to really glean too much from, but officially this is a rematch. It's officially Tom's first revenge opportunity, because he's never fought against a guy he's lost to before, and Vegas thinks that it was a fluke. Minus 355 is Tom Lockspinall. Curtis Razor Blades, meanwhile, is plus 280, and a guy who has amazing wins in the UFC. I mean, I think back always to that performance of the night finish way back in 2018 over Overeem, and the wins he picked up after that were amazing as well. Junior Dos Santos got absolutely smoked. Alexander Volkov is a win that is aging very nicely, and that fight was non-competitive. Curtis Blades took him down repeatedly and really smoked him. So with how good Volkov has gotten the last few years, that win is amazing. He smoked Biggie Boy, and he also just took out Jailton Almeida most recently. And that to me was the most impressive. I picked Jailton in that one, or excuse me, I picked Curtis Blades in that one, and I was impressed with how light work he did that against Jailton, and finish was impressive enough to earn him performance of the night. So what are your thoughts on this one? At plus 280, do you think that there is some life for Curtis Blades, or at minus 355 with the interim belt and defending it for some reason, is Tom Aspinall truly a lock in?
You know, oh man, I want to say, you know, these odds are juicy. Curtis Blades, he's very good. He's a very good wrestler. But, you know, stylistically, you know, this could be a tough matchup for Tom Aspinall. But then again, you just look at Tom's resume. First round knockout, first round knockout, first round submission, first round knockout, first round knockout. This is going to end in the first round. First round, knee injury. Lost to Curtis Blades. This is going to end in the first round, guaranteed. The question is, who's going to win? How's it going to win? Is Curtis going to get it done? Is Tom Aspinall's Francis Ngannou to Curtis Blade? Curtis Blade? I guess we'll find out. But MMA math, you know, he knocked out Sergey. Knocked out Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura has great wrestling. Blades gets knocked out versus heavy hitters. And who's a heavy hitter than Pavlovich or Derek Lewis? Apparently Tom Aspinall, because Tom Aspinall's knocking out all these guys. He's beating Volkov, he's beating Spivak, he's beating Marcin Tybura, he's knocking out Pavlovich, which everyone was saying Pavlovich was the scariest man on earth until that happened. So this is gonna be a fun fight. I Gotta go Lockspinall. I think Lockspinall, it was a fluke. I think the odds makers are seeing what the reality is, and I think I'm gonna feel bad because I do like Curtis Blades, and I hate to see it, but I think Curtis Blades is gonna go to sleep, first round. It's gonna add to that KO losing list.
Yeah, and that would be interesting because the last time we saw Curtis Blades get finished was in the first round. It was against Sergey Pavlovich, and a fight that was over pretty quickly. So perhaps Tom Aspinall writes a similar story in this one and picks up a first round finish of his own when technically his opponent has a first round finish over him. So I definitely could have picked up at your question, Meatball. You asked a great question. Is perhaps Tom's Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, Curtis Blades? And maybe he is. I mean, maybe this is just one of those weird matchup fights, and Curtis Blades comes through and makes this way more competitive than some anticipate. But I don't know, because to me it seems like Tom Aspinall is just on another level when it comes to heavyweights, and the guy moves like a middleweight. He's fast. He hits harder than anyone. He's got amazing wrestling. He's an elite jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's got fast hands. Like, I've never seen someone as well-rounded as Tom Aspinall, and definitely not in the heavyweight division. So I think this dude's the best on the planet, but I also think Curtis Blades might be top 3 as well. So my question to you is, you're taking Tom Aspinall by finish. If this does go beyond the first 5 minutes, what do you see the next couple rounds looking like? Is Curtis Blades going to be able to even get some takedowns? If he does, is Tom Aspinall going to reverse positions or maybe even be dangerous from his back and get sneaky there? Like, how do you anticipate this fight going if for some reason in this parallel universe it does go to the second round and beyond?
Yeah, no, man, it could go to second round, maybe, maybe not. But Curtis Blades has never lost submission or decision. He's only ever been KO'd. I think that similar thing's going to happen. There's clearly a weakness there. It's also impressive. Curtis Blades has never lost decision. So if it goes decision, the odds are, he's pretty good odds he could win this. So Tom too. Tom's, he's only got that L with the injury or whatever. I wouldn't really say it's a real loss, but you got to give it to Blades. I don't know. This is definitely a fun fight, a crazy fight. If you're a Curtis Blades fan, those are juicy odds. Tom Lockspinall, it's hard to bet against him. He's the champ right now. Get rid of Jones, Stipe, the super mega fights. In theory, he's the champ right now.
Yeah, in theory, he's the champ, and in theory, Blades is the number 1 contender. So this is a very sweet fight. Tapology is on the side of Vegas. They think that it's going to be one-sided. 92% is rolling with Lockspinall. It's basically all brown. So like you said, Curtis Blades, never been submitted, never lost a decision, does, however, get slept. Tapology thinks that Aspinall is going to be the next one to do it. And I was a little bit interested to see of the 8% backers. It's basically all brown. So a lot of people think that if Blades gets this one done, maybe it's a smothering TKO. Because I do think, again, in a world where Blades wins this fight, I could see him winning a decision. The fight against Volkov went 25 minutes, and it was because he took him down, was very smart and strategic on the ground, using his top pressure and wrestling. So if he's going to survive against Aspinall, I got to imagine the game plan will be pretty similar. Who's the next most lethal striker that besides Aspinall that Blades has fought, not including Francis Ngannou? It's got to be Volkov. So the strategy to me could be the same, and if for some reason he has some success, then I wouldn't rule out decision for Blades. But Tapology backers think KO or bust for Curtis Blades. Do you buy that?
No, Curtis Blades, he's been knocking dudes out recently too,
Sure.
These are big boys. Anything is possible. I could honestly see either one losing first round of knockout, and I can see either one winning by submission or decision. These guys are absolute savages, both high-level grapplers. I gotta imagine if there is a submission win, it's gonna be on Tom's side. But I gotta imagine if there's a decision or a KO, it could be Curtis's side. KO, maybe Tom's side also. This is a very interesting fight, a wild matchup, and I'm just so curious on how Tom's gonna approach this. Is Tom gonna even try to grapple? Is Curtis even going to try to grapple? Are they going to cancel each other out? Or is Curtis just such an elite grappler that he demolishes Tom? Or does Tom submit Curtis Blades like a little baby in the first round? I don't know. but I just don't think it's going past the first. From what all the data is showing us, there's no way this gets past the first round.
Yeah, for sure. This is a fight that we could literally go on and on about because there are so many potential outcomes, seemingly. But again, Tapology thinks it's a KO for Aspinall. You are going that same route. I'll follow all of you guys. It's hard, like you said, to pick against Tom Aspinall, and I do see him getting a finish in this one. My only hope for this fight is that, one, it goes a little bit longer than the last fight, obviously, which shouldn't be hard to do. That last fight went 15 seconds, but I want to see these guys brawl. I want to see these guys go at it for multiple rounds, and I hope someone doesn't get slept with the first 3 minutes. I fear that that's what's going to happen. I fear Blades is probably getting slept early and often, but I hope it's more of a slobber knocker. I hope we see some wrestling and some grappling, and I hope this fight touches the third round, which might be a pipe dream, but that's what I'm hoping for, and so that's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall, third round finish. Can't tell you if it's KO or TKO or submission, but third round finish for Aspinall is where I will go. I'm Aspinall in. Any last thoughts on the Comey?
No, this is a great fight, fun fight nonetheless.
Yeah, fun fight nonetheless, where, let's not forget, the dude is defending an interim belt, which is truly ridiculous. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, swap us through. It's the meat event. It's the one I've been clamoring to talk to you about because off air, through text, throughout the last, I don't know how many months we've been waiting and anticipating my boy, Belal Muhammad, getting the shot that has long eluded him for many, many years now. And not a lot of people have been arguing that they want to see Belal Muhammad in this title fight, but a lot of people have been arguing that, hey, Belal Muhammad has earned his way into the title fight, and reluctantly a lot of fans are saying, finally the dude is getting his shot. Maybe they're not the most excited to watch it, but it seems like justice was done in this one, and I'm excited for him to get his opportunity against Leon Edwards, who, what can you say about Leon? I mean, the dude just defended most recently against Colby Covington in a fight that got pretty ugly with the pre-fight promotion, and one that Leon Edwards really made kind of ugly in the octagon because he dominated Colby start to finish. It wasn't the most exciting or enthralling fight we've ever seen from Leon, and Colby obviously didn't help with that, but it was dominant, it was light work, and it was another title defense for Leon Edwards. So in this fight, I could go on all day about Belal Muhammad, his amazing resume, what he did to your boy Sean Brady, but I'll keep it short, Meat Boy. Are you taking Leon at around minus 258, or have you remembered the name? Do you believe it's Belal's time, and you're going to fade the rest of the MMA community and go all in with your boy on Belal Muhammad? Who are you taking?
It is basically impossible to go against Leon Scott right now. Side note, I'm mind blown that this is even the title fight. I thought Belal Muhammad would never get a title shot in his life. The UFC absolutely abysmals him, dude. That was probably the best fight I've ever seen him in with Sean Brady. He absolutely KO'd him, snuffed him. That was a big whoa. That's crazy because Sean Brady is no joke. But both these guys have easily the most impressive current resumes in the division. It is wild on these. They're both of their win streaks. Yeah, this is gonna be a crazy fight. And now to settle the beef, was the eye poke intentional because Leon was scared and knew he was gonna lose, or what did Leon? Was it a real accident and Belal got lucky? We're going to find out this weekend, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that one specifically. I'm glad you brought it up because much like the co-meet, this also is a rematch, and the first fight featured some pretty strange outcomes, right? First round, Leon Scott, you can argue was dominating. He landed a nice head kick. The fight thus far was going quite well. Round 2 begins, Belal Muhammad eats that eye poke, is unable to continue. He had some surgeries on the eye earlier. He thought he might be blind in the moment, so it obviously was an intense situation. What are your thoughts on that first fight? I remember after the fight, Meat Boy, you weren't alone, but a lot of people were sort of just automatically chalking that one up as a Leon victory based on his first round performance. So in your book, going into this rematch, did Leon win that first contest? Did Belal bow out when perhaps he could have stuck it out? Or do you think it was a justifiable no contest and this fight we essentially haven't seen before, as opposed to this being a fight that Leon has to win again?
Yeah, a couple things. One, Leon was definitely dominating that fight. You could tell he seemed a better striker. He was stuffing the takedowns. He had the speed. He seemed like he was on the verge of winning that fight. Now, was that a knockout or a submission? No, it was probably a slow sizzle decision. Grind him out and just pick him apart. That being said, in the moment, I thought Bilal copped out. I thought that I was like totally fine. I'm like, wow, he knew he was losing. He copped out because he was about to get smoked by Leon. Leon is no joke, no shame in that. But it seemed a little sus and WWE fake. Looking back at it, that was one of the worst eye pokes we've ever seen, probably. And just look at his face. Why do you think he wears sunglasses? His eye is so jacked ever since that eye poke, which is crazy. And it's always funny when you rewatch it or you look at new things. You're like, how did I even think that that was a bailout Peter Yan versus the Funk? You know, the Funk absolutely took advantage of that. Bilal, he literally almost lost his eye. His eye looks crazy now. He always wears sunglasses. Feel bad for the guy. He needs to get that revenge, but we shall see. Leon is no joke.
Yeah, good stuff. My favorite example for that would be Diego Sanchez versus Michel Pereira, right? I mean, that was clearly a fight where Diego was just trying to get the heck out of there. It's likely that that was not the circumstance in this one, because again, in hindsight, the eye poke was pretty gnarly for sure. And I love your point about the sunglasses. Sunglasses, I mean, there's no one else in the UFC that can rock sunglasses inside like Bilal Muhammad can, and it's really added to his character, added to his star potential, the fact that he rocks those stunner shades all day now. So love that fact that you inserted for sure. Tapology in this one, and I'm curious to get your perspective. It's not as close as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I know that Bilal Muhammad doesn't have a lot of fans in the UFC, but to me, I thought that there would still be a little bit greater contingency of Bilal Muhammad backers in this fight, but there really isn't. Only 19% is going with Remember the Name. 81% is taking Leon Scott, and there's a lot of beige on both sides. So Tapology thinks this fight is going the distance, and overwhelmingly they're taking Leon Edwards. Is 81-19 surprising to you at all, or is that where you thought it'd be?
Honestly, that's exactly where I would see it. I'm surprised it's not 98%, 99, 100% Leon Scott, because that's how many people dislike Bilal. The UFC hates him. I'm surprised the UFC hasn't paid all these websites to put those numbers out there. I'm surprised the UFC is even making this fight a reality. This division just must be that dry. Low-key, Leon kind of ran through them all, so kind of get it. And Hamzat can't rely on, and a few other guys, they're still just too new. I think Remember the Name deserves this shot. This is the right play. But I just don't know. Is this going to be a very exciting performance or not so much? I think it'll be exciting to me, but for the Cassies out there, I just don't know. I hope it is, because that way both these guys can get more respect and fans.
Yeah, great points. I am with you. I hope this fight is exciting. I don't know if it's going to end in a finish. I can, in a lot of situations, see this fight go in the but if someone is able to pick up a finish, whether it's Leon by gnarly head kick or maybe some sort of flying knee when Bilal is trying to shoot a takedown, that would be incredible, especially in front of his hometown crowd for Leon's legacy. That'd be amazing. And if Bilal comes out here and shuts up all the haters and picks up a finish of his own, similar to how he did against Sean Brady, similar to how he did against Takashi Sato, that too would be impressive as well. So in this fight, Meat Boy, I'm very excited. Obviously, I think that Leon is a tremendous champion. I think he might arguably be one of the best 170-pounders of all time. And I'm also going to put it out in the ether right now that I think Bilal Muhammad is also one of the greatest 170-pound fighters ever. And he's coming in this fight to prove a point, to show how all of the grappling he's been doing, all the training he's been doing with Khabib, Islam, and the boys is going to allow him to just come through and ragdoll Leon Scott. So I'm taking Bilal. I'm taking Bilal to maybe get a late finish or a dominant decision in a fight that is either he won 4 rounds or a dominant 3. A fight that looks similar to against Damian Maia, against Stephen Thompson, against Vicente Luque. All fights where people thought that those guys would be too good for Bilal Muhammad. I think this is another example. He's the best in the world. taking Bilal. I'm remembering the name. Am I tripping?
No, I do not think you're tripping. Wouldn't surprise me if anyone's going to do it, it's Bilal. He is the next best guy. Bilal's ran through everyone. Leon Scott's ran through everyone, but I think Leon Scott is just that guy. I think he is potentially going to crap on Usman's record. Somehow he took Usman out twice, which still blows my mind. And ever since then, his confidence, his trajectory, his ability, it just seems to be getting crazier, better and better, and just new and improved. I mean, he made Colby Covington look like a C-list level UFC fighter, not one of the top tier guys. That being said, I think Leon's going to get it done, probably dominant fashion, decision. I just wonder, is Bilal and his new jacked muscles going to be strong enough to take him down? That's the question.
Because the dude is looking absolutely massive. I mean, if you've seen any recent picture or interview featuring Bilal Muhammad, the dude is next level shredded. So that's where I'm leaning, Meatboy. I think that's going to be pivotal. I like him too. You said dominant decision for Leon. I'm going dominant decision by Bilal. 10% luck, 20% skill. But let us know in the comments, am I tripping? Do you think Bilal Muhammad is getting absolutely smoked and Leon Edwards makes light work? Or are you rolling with me? Are you down to fade most of the rest of the MMA community and go all in on Bilal Muhammad? Let us know down low. But nonetheless, Meatboy, that should be a fun meat event. Ultimately, we broke down 8 fights this week. How do you think you do at the end of UFC 304? And how easy is this meatlock cash with Meat Larkin?
Yeah, I think this is cashing real nicely, and I'm feeling at least 6-2, maybe even 8-0.
6-2 or 8-0. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going 7-1 this week. Meat Larkin is an absolute lock, and again, with Meat Larkin being an absolute lock, that has to mean that Balak Meat Hamid gets this one done as well. Any last thoughts on UFC 304, me boy?
No, glad to see not in a total abysmal fight card. This is a legit card. Can't wait. This should be fun.
Good.
Which is would I be trained at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. London time? Or do you get there 2 days later, you're acclimated, you're on normal time? I wonder I gotta imagine the coaches are probably just sticking to the weird time, right?
Well, and some of the guys are just traveling out this week, so it's like they're seemingly not there for 3 weeks or a month. They're going a couple days out, and it's like when you get there, how do you adjust? I don't know. I wonder, because for them, the travelers, the time's going to be the same, right? So it's like, how long have the dudes who are living there been preparing for their change? Because their schedules are all different. They've eaten at different times. They're going to be now fighting at different times. So it's like, I wonder, have you seen any of the London-based or England-based fighters talking about how they've adjusted their sleep patterns or anything throughout the past couple weeks?
I haven't seen anything
I haven't
like
either.
that. But that is interesting because, I don't know. It makes sense that the travelers would have the advantage, but also, maybe not because, I don't know, different weather. I don't know, there's so many things. That is weird. I totally forgot. It's hours, bro. Dude, I'd be so pissed if I was actually, I don't want the title fight. Can I just fight in Vegas, please?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because it's definitely a slap in the face to both the England fans and the England fighters. But at the same time, I mean, you got to imagine that the last London pay-per-view, the fight that I was at at the O2, the pay-per-view numbers had to have bombed, right? Because that was a fight where in the U.S. the main card was in the afternoon. So those London fight cards that have a pay-per-view that peaks in the afternoon, I think they bomb in the pay-per-view department. So it makes sense that the most buyers, the U.S. market is going to be prioritized. So what do you make of that? Is it unfair to the London fighters and the London fans, or is it just sage business?
Dude, I've never been to London. I don't really know. But just knowing how these other countries operate, I love that and prefer it. We're we want to be done by 10 and go gamble or go to bed or whatever. I think these guys are like, I don't know, just going crazy, drinking pubs till 5, 6 a.m., just getting wild. Like, you know, I don't know. It's like New York. Like in New York, the bars are open till like 6 a.m. or something. It's just a different breed of people. I think those people over there are just a different level of scousers and scallywags, you know? So I think they could be like, and if they had it like end at 10 p.m., I could see them like, the night's over, you know? So I don't know. It could be that, or they're just like, hey, buddy, this side of the country doesn't pay top. Saudi Arabia, they get every fight for free. They pay an ESPN monthly thing, and it's $20. That's crazy. That's what my buddy that lives in Saudi, that's who told me. I go, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, and it's like some weird app. Like, we don't have it. It's like some weird app or like ESPN, but it's a Saudi thing or Middle East or Europe. I don't know whatever it is. And I'm like, wait, dude, I think there's only like 2 or 3 countries that are pay-per-view. Everything else is like network, cable, subscription, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's basically
very interesting.
Designed for the American pay-per-view model, the American pay-per-view audience. So it's like, yeah, it's a tough one. I'm with you. I do think there are going to be a lot of stoked scallywags out there ready to party until the wee hours of the morning. But the fighters, I mean, they're the ones getting the short end of the stick. I mean, to a fist fight at 2 in the morning.
What are you doing this week? Dude, just about to go brawl 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Wait, what?
It's like there's never been a good fight at 2 a.m. Like, that's always just bad news, you know, when people are fighting at 2 a.m. But should be interesting in this one.
Yeah, it's never peak performances 2 a.m.